So basically, these are OCG deck lists that have topped tournaments in whatever OCG region, whether it's China, Japan mostly, and Korea. I think there might be maybe, and just like basically the whole OCG circuit, and their branded lists that have been doing pretty well even in trying times, especially in the OCG where no, branded openings at 3 in the OCG, so that's good. Maybe this isn't even an OCG list. This one's just a weird list. So yeah, I can go to this one and start with this. Is this the list I wanted? No. Here, let's find a good list to start with. So yeah, this is a Dragon Road OCG top 4 list. About 40 players. So that's like about an OTS. That's not bad. And this got top 4. And this was so I was saying before, we're going to be looking through these branded lists in an attempt to get some tech cards that we can bring forward with post crossover breakers, because the OCG's already been playing this format for like a couple months now with Ryzeal and Maliss. So I think if we're able, they're already a few months ahead, of course, so we can take what they're doing right now and use it for our deck building with Ryzeal and Maliss coming out in about 2 weeks here in the TCG side. And this list is interesting because off the bat, we don't have a side deck, unfortunately. So it must have been oh no, we do have the side deck right here. So we can just do it on YuGiOh Pro deck. That works a lot better. He's running Typhoon in the side, which is already spicy. And I've seen other people run, and it's a 60 card list. I think that's something you guys will see a lot of in the OCG. They love their 60 card branded lists. And I can see why when, that grass looks greener is at 2 in the OCG. Openings also at 2. But they also have things like Expulsion. So I feel like branded is arguably could be in a better position in the OCG than it is in the TCG. And fortunately, branded is still 5th to 6th the most represented deck typically through tournament numbers on average, which is still pretty impressive in my opinion. People just love the deck. And now we see Maxx at 2, so this list was before the ban list, so take that for what you will. And that is not too much of a change, it's just Maxx to 2. And this was still in Ryzeal, I believe. So we see Keeper of Dragon Magic too, which is a card that I actually just made a video on today, if you guys check that out. It's a great card that searches out poly or any kind of fusion card, so it could be branded fusion, and it also lets you revive a monster from the graveyard that mentions that mentions a card in your extra or fusion monster in your extra deck. So it's really cool in that respect. It pays for itself. It's a good just like one of extender. He's also running the Golden Sword Soul, which is really good in like as just like a free body. It also lets you it's a tuner, so this is a nice tuner. Maybe you could he was trying to hard make Lulu Wall Lilith. He's only running Lulu, but he's also running Sprined, so we see a pretty standard extra deck. But the main deck is he's running like Imperm, 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Maxx, and this was no Mulcharmy, but he is choosing to run the Maxx with like a few other hand traps, which isn't. I think that makes sense in a quote unquote Maxx, quote unquote Mulcharmy format branded. That's the point I was making in today's video. I think hand traps are pretty good and branded. And then, so I like this kind of list. Expulsion's broken. 60 card grass is what you'll see a lot. I think Typhoon might be a little spicy too, because this obviously hits a lot of the good field spells. Also, I'm not sure if this is going to be the silver bullet for things like Maliss or Ryzeal, because hitting the field spell on Ryzeal is good and all, but you're not interacting with their actual back row and then Detonator or their other exceeds. So Typhoon isn't great into those matchups, so this might be something I wouldn't personally run. But also it's great into Tenpai. However, you do have to realize that we're going to get a ban list within probably 2 months at the very least, so I would also keep that in mind. In the current decks such as Tenpai, Yubel, and Fire King and Snake Eye will likely be hit a little bit more. I don't think Snake Eye is actually going to get hit, because Azamina Snake Eye is going to be a deck that they want to push a little bit with the new Azamina support with White Forest, so we'll see how that goes. So yeah, that was a cool list. I also, double Allure is interesting in 60. It does prove the point where like, you can't max out on High Spirits and Allure. Also, the one of Cosmic Cyclone is wild. It's not even searchable off of Thrust. He's not maining Thrust also. You guys see actually in the OCG, a lot of people don't even main Thrust. For branded, he's choosing to side it, which makes sense. At least he's siding it at that point. I do think the Cyclone's a little just kind of roll in my opinion. The one of Cyclone, one of Imperm I could understand too if you were like, oh, thrust into imperm, but deciding it. 2 retribution is also something that we've seen in other branded lists in the OCG. They kind of like their 2 retribution, only 1 quem. 1 Cartesia is also, they love 1 Cartesia over in the OCG, which I can't agree with. But when you have like double grass, that's so much power. So that's certainly something I hope we see over here. And you guys kind of see how I got the idea for the 1 Nibiru, right? King Cuz, what's up? Hope you all having a good night. How's it going, dude? I found the expulsion should have never been banned. Hope they bring back expulsion, please. Expulsion really isn't that broken if you're keeping around Sanctifier, but it's fine. And let's go onto the next list. This one was a Dragon Road 2nd place, another 60 card branded list. This had about 40 duelists again, and no side deck in this one. And it's probably a best of 1 event if I had to guess in that case. And he's running a ton of hand traps. We're seeing 3 Nibiru, 3 Maxx, 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Imperm. And like I've been saying, guys, I think hand traps are currently really good in branded. I think Nibiru is insane against Maliss. It is that between that and Lancia, those are the 2 hand traps that absolutely just nuke Maliss. Until the new the new Ignister support comes out. Until then, until Alliance Insight, Nibiru is really good against Maliss. So I would say running 3 in a format where Maliss, this was probably during the time, this was actually a while ago, but I'd say 3 Nibiru for Maliss could be something you could consider too. And then 3 Ash Blossom. But he's also running the droplets. I think it's still like you can't just run hand traps. I think, but filling out like a 60 card build with hand traps, that's always been something I think you can definitely consider. That's kind of what I'm doing right now in the TCG with like small Charmies to some extent. He's running 3 Nadir. I can't believe Nadir's at 3 in OCG, but 2 in Master Duel. Hopefully that comes back to 3. And he's running Branded Sword and Expulsion with 1 cross out because I think cross out's at 1, 2 called by. That makes sense. And no thrust in the main. Probably siding it, but we don't have the side deck. But we'll, And then the Golden Sword Soul, we see that again. So maybe that's something that we can see. I've actually been seeing Golden Sword Soul. I saw that in the mirror match that I was playing on stream the other day. What's up, Andrea? Extra Sanctifier is dumb IMO. I prefer to struggle. I can't get Nadir without Maximus. Nadir without Maximus is actually, I get it, because if you don't use your normal, it's still full combo, because, right, you go Nadir, send Albion, and then search Quem, send Albaz. You have to have Cartesia or Albaz in rotation, though, and then you set Brandon in red, so I think that's also a lot of the time you go half combo and then get stopped, and then Nadir, it's just cutting down the brick, so I can actually personally understand it. I've wanted to personally a lot. There's a lot of traps, but again, a lot of them are just, and double retribution once again. Personally, I think Tragedy is better. You guys don't see Tragedy in this list, or no, you do. I don't know. I wouldn't run a 2nd Tragedy, but I don't know. The double retribution is nice for the grind game, I will say. So this is a branded YuGiOh list, and this got top 4 at another Dragon Road, piloted by Ace. And this was a 44 duelist tournament, and we do have the side deck this time. And it's a pretty standard YuGiOh list, I think, though. It has the 1 of Spirit, the 1 of YuGiOh, and then the branded cards, and then 60 card grass, 2 grass, and you do see the 3 high spirits. I love that. You see a bunch of 1-ofs between terraforming. 1 branded opening is certainly a choice. I don't know if I'd ever do that personally. I think branded opening's so good, especially in the face of Tenpai. And then you have the Nightmare Thrones, and which is now at 2. So that's crazy. It's at 2 in the OCG. I forgot about that. And Phantom's at 1. Yeah, I nuked Duel, man. It's still usable, right? But it really hurt that deck. So, interesting stuff to take away from this. I believe this was before actually Azamina was released. I think Azamina ends up being a little bit better than the YuGiOh variant. However, this variant plays around Mulcharmy, right? Fuwalos, because you could... Doesn't, but it does, right? Or actually it doesn't, because you can't just like open both these YuGiOhs, to be fair. 3 Change of Heart is so wild to see, I'm not gonna lie. 3 Cosmic makes sense. 10 Pi Fire King, but also I don't think Cosmic's great into either Ryzeal or Maliss, so this is probably a card you'll see less and less of. But I see people running right now. And then Dark Ruler, it's good for Maliss and Ryzeal, I won't lie. It's not great against Maliss. If you can get them to set up the quick play without electing your board, the quick play banish, I do feel like, or which is the Queen of Hearts, I do think the Dark Ruler is not bad against them, especially in the face of like Terahertz, if you can get them before Terahertz Suns again, but I don't know. So it's a branded Yubel list. I would say if you want to try something spicy, branded Yubel might be your way. And also when you see these Maxxs, I'd say just like of them as Molcharmies, honestly. If you're trying to translate it to TCG, it might look a little easier. All right, so this was the World Championship Asia Qualifier 2024 Hong Kong Regional Top 8. So this was just a regional top 8. These are we're going in order, by the way. So like these are going from oldest to newest, by the way. But I'm going from lists, I guess, from the last, like, yes. So 60 card again, and we see more Golden Sword Soul. We see the Chaos Nephthys. I think we've actually reviewed this deck on stream, if I'm not mistaken, because I see the Shire and I see this Fairy Tale Snow. I see the, yeah, this is like the first list that I think like we saw run with a Stellar, and we reviewed this like a month ago. So it's definitely a cool list, and also he's running Mysterion. Oh, and he has Light and Darkness Dragon Lord, so yeah. Definitely has a lot of cool text in it. The Chaos Nephthys is cool because if a card's destroyed, so like in theory, right? In theory, this is pretty good with like King running around, Yubel running around. I think this hasn't really stuck in the TCG at all. Like I haven't seen this at all in the TCG. Maybe I saw it in one list, I think. But I know my man Yuri really liked it too when he tested it, so I think it's worth testing. Shout out to Yuri Diaz. And then the Despian Theater, that's also something interesting that I've considered when like you're running a field spell package like Primeval Planet Pearl Rhino. I'm not running even a terraforming. I would run a terraforming because like I feel like that's just free real estate. But Pearl Rhino, like we already talked about that. It's great and branded. It's kind of tough. It's a lot of bricks, but he has like run many cards he wants in the graveyard. So it's like no pitch, like he's running the one of Poly. Swamp is interesting because it makes he's not running the Roll Kalos. That's interesting. Just Swamp with no Roll Kalos. That's crazy. Just for the Guardian Chimera. Interesting list to take away from. Branded Beast also in the main. Tikaboo in the main is heinous, but Tikaboo is like one of the floodgates that's pretty good in branded, right guys? Probably just since Titanclad Maximus can be win more, maybe drawing Elbaz is better if you end with Elbaz banished in a Luberin graveyard for branded and red. Okay, so this is yeah, this ain't even, is this even, it's a top 16 regional. It's another 60 card branded. There's a lot of the same stuff we were seeing. We see a Regained in here. Regained is cool too. I think if you run, he's not really running a extended Bestial package. He's not running the Dissipator. He's running double Queb. You know, build like this, I'd afford cutting the Sprine for like a Dissipator maybe to play through some hand traps. Oh, our first non-60 card list, guys. We did it. Non-60 card users rise up in the chat. Branded Akisha Cup, OCG Club top 4. Let's see how many people were in this event. 48 duelists. So this was a 43 card branded deck, and that's not to say like card branded is unusable. I really hope I don't come across that way because I think it is great. Like I think at the end of the day you should be running branded how it suits you, and I know that might just be a cop-out answer, but also like honest within, just see it like works for you at the end of the day. I think that, you know, like I said, someone almost get 9th place at the Santa Clara Regional with branded with 46 card without Puppet. So it's just like, you know, as long as you play branded and don't misplay, that deck treats you so well. And misplaying can even be like take too long and losing to time, right, and tying. So it's just like it's a tough deck to run, but like you definitely make it work because it's just like you have all the options you could ever want with branded. So we see him still running Nadir even in a 43 card list with no Maximus, and two Albaz. That's kind of wild, honestly. I don't know how I feel about 2 Albaz, if I'm being honest. And 2 Albaz is pretty bad for the grind game, but obviously it worked for him. And we see the Maxi and then the Ash. I think that the Ash Blossoms are mainly there for the Maxi guys, to be fair, but like I think Molcharmy you guys have to consider running the Max, or you know, for Molcharmy. It is just like a called buy for Molcharmy at the end of the day, going first. And it's great going second, right? Shout out to Heavy Storm, man. We need this card back. I see why the QCR went nuclear, because we're probably going to get this back in next ban list. So have a nice copy of Heavy Storm before they go nuclear, right? He's running 2 shifter. It's at 2, by the way, in the OCG. I really wish we could have that. But this goes back to my one video. I made a video almost a year ago. I was actually going through my old videos last night after I was feeling nostalgic after that stream. And yeah, no, there was like a time where people were seriously like shifter and branded, or like shifter and branded. I think it was like purely Unchained format, right at like Rescue Ace format. So because like we don't lose to shifter that hard. We lose to shifter plus multiple hand traps. However, I think like a lot of other decks hard lose to shifter way harder than we do. Like, I think we have the best shifter lines in the game, I think, besides like shifter decks. Like Diamond Shifter, so I can understand siding the 2 shifter, especially when he's running like Phantasme. And Phantasme does actually put a card in your graveyard, so you can't go shifter, right? But still, and the beer, you know, have that for Maliss and stuff like that. Thrust on the side once again. And I think this shows that Thrust, while it's a great card, it isn't required in Branded. It really isn't. And I think a lot of people, you just have to have a deck that works otherwise. But also, seeing in the side totally makes sense. Evenly in the main with the Imperm. Expulsion. Expulsion with no puppet is oh no, it's puppet in the side. I would just main the puppet though, because like, there's no business being in the main at that point, right? Extra deck super standard. We see a lot of Sprines. People love their Sprine combo with Kit, which generates a lot of advantage. So I can understand that. Not a bad list. I like it for a 43 card list outside the 3 Albaz. Also the OCG loves 1 Cartesia. I can't get behind that. I think you need 2 at least. I mean, a 43 card list, you can get away with that, but. So this was the 21st Komachi CS Championship 3rd place. How many people was this? 40 people. Okay, I feel like a lot of these numbers might just be like not real if they're all just in the 40s, but maybe that's just me. For Brandon and Rod, I play 51 to 52 with Allure. Might cut Thrust to 2. It can be bricky for me. Yeah, I don't think like, I've also debated on cutting Thrust to 2 in like the main deck maybe, because it's a once per turn, right? You don't want to see multiples of it. You can brick on it. It's not a starter. Maybe we just start siding a Thrust or something to accommodate the hand trap package, right? A 50 card list. Okay, okay, I with like Cartesia, let's go. And there might have been another one. And 2 Albaz. Okay, oh, okay, he lost me there. Okay, he had me at 3 Cartesia, but now we see 2 Albaz, so it's just like, oh, but okay. As long as you're good with your grind game, which, you know, give it to OCG players, they're probably really nice with it, with their grind game, so. But, you know, I would personally run 3 Albaz. I think it's totally sufficient. Even cut one of the Cartesias at that point, or one of the kits, because he's running double kit. And this is something me and my man Yuri Diaz have been discussing, because there's gonna be a couple lists in here where you see multiple kit. There's also, I won't spoil it, but there's one list that loves kit, we'll just say that. Keep watching for that. And it is a cool card, and it's obviously a once per turn. It's another copy of Aluber. And also, it can be a special summon, right? If you have access to Brand High Spirits, which you have 3 of in this build, then you can always special summon this. This turns from a normal summon to a special summon, which is pretty good, right? Like, it can special summon a Luber. That sounds pretty good. So, like, in theory, Kit could potentially be better than a lot of our other normal summon options, such as, like, a Seller or something like that. Because or like the Dragon Magic, because we can just straight up special summon this a lot of the time if we have high spirits. But if we already have high spirits in rotation, we're probably winning the game, right? So I don't know. 3 Sarnier, and we don't see really anything. Imagine if Verte was legal, man. These bestial bodies converting into Verte. So good. That's one of my favorite things to do in Master Duel. Anyway, and then we have the Maxx's, Effective Ailers, plus the Imperms, or the Hand Trap package, which we just keep seeing Hand Trap package. Like, I'm not sure if we saw just in a format with Mulcharmy and Maxx, it makes sense that, like, players are kind of forced into that. I feel like once we start getting to the newer list, though, it's going to end up being a lot more board breakers with, like, Maxx, but we'll see. Guys, I have so many lists right now. It's crazy. So, should all branded TEARLAMENTS Japan Championship Final Top 32? I think we reviewed this on stream too at one point, so I won't go over it for too long, but this was at the Japan Championship a few months ago. And It's a build that utilizes... It's such a cool build, man. This is such a cool build. Like, I hope we can one day play this in the TCG. I think what is required is basically having the 2 grass. I think 2 grass puts this all together. And he's running so many cool little tidbits. Like, we got 2 Albaz, sure. But that's not... He has so much else. Like, he's running the 3 King of the Swamp. So this counts as an Albaz. In my opinion, I'd only be running 2 Albaz too with 3 King of the Swamp. So it doesn't like really brick that much. You're also running Shadalls. Shout out to Shadal Beast, Shadal Dragon, and Shadal Schism. Because you use those to facilitate things like El Shadal Construct, El Shadal App Cologne, and El Shadal Window. This is probably, this list probably takes, like, the reward for my favorite branded list out of the OC, like, been made in a while. You get to, this makes it so Branded and High Spirits at 3 is live with every single monster in your deck. It's live with every single monster in your deck, which is typically not the case. So if you go High Spirits on Shiren, or any of the Tearlaments, you can just automatically make a Stapelia because you send Real Kalos, and then the tier name will trigger and then make Stapelia. You're also running Kaitotera, which is a cool way to basically fuse into a Hornsaurus, I believe, because it's 1 dinosaur or 1 dragon, so you can basically use King of the Swamp with Cartesia or the Kaitotera and make this, and when special summon, you get to search out a field spell. You get to place one when it's fusion summoned, so you get to place a Dragon Ravine, a Primeval Plant Purrely, like we were talking about before. We could also run the Despian Theater. The music was getting a little loud. 2 Retribution again, yeah. No. So I'm not gonna review. I'd recommend trying out a list like this. Also, running Secret Village in the side with a terraforming engine is disgusting. Like, I think Secret Village is honestly, like, if Puppet ever gets banned, we're gonna become a Secret Village deck. Like, lots of theory in this deck to be considered. I've tried to convert this deck to TCG plenty of times. It's tough without two grass, I will say that. Also, Shadal Fusion, the main as a board breaker, is based. All right, so starting to get to the really newer decks, a lot of the newer decks. Despia Bastille Branded, the YuGiOh Open Tournament Singapore top C4, so that must have been a pretty big tournament, right? 338 duelists. This one does have a side deck. He's siding 3 Iron Wall. That is certainly a stylistic choice because this is an Omni Negate. When a spell or trap or monster effect is activated on the field, pay half your life points, negate the activation. If you do destroy that card, and then destroy any other cards in the same column the destroy card was in that are in the monster or spell trap card zones, which is pretty good, right? Like, it's basically getting around board breakers. Like, you guys are seeing a lot more board breakers with Ryzeal coming into the fold because that deck just folds to like a single board breaker. I love Shadal's. Almost won a game against Fiendsmith Cash recently with the deck. It was a crazy game. If I banished a little more head aside, probably would have won. Yeah, that's definitely a tough, because like, it's such a good grind deck, like the Fiendsmith card, so they're just gonna keep constantly banishing your stuff. It must be a little tough, but yeah, like side deck always fixes like situations like that, matchups like that. Weird to me then, the TCG, we play 3 Thrust and 3 Branded Fusion. They don't play Thrust with 1. I mean, a lot of them do, but you guys see on the side are like, you know, this list is running 3 Thrust. I think it's correct to main deck the Thrust. Like, I'm not, like, we could roast these lists. I think we're more here to learn about these lists, though. So that's why I'm not being too critical myself on, like, oh, I don't like, oh, this guy's not running Thrust, he's bad at the game. No. I do like I do really like this list. Super solid list. This is, like, up in my territory where, like, full Charmy, 3 Maxx, 3 Ash, and then running some droplets plus the grass and Thrust. And you guys see so many grass lists. I feel like this is why a lot of branded players have just not been performing in the TCG, because I see it because I'm in the communities. A lot of branded players just don't believe in the grass build, which is unfortunate because it's definitely like the better branded build. I would, like, I'm not even trying to be too like confident on that, but I think the OCG shows this with how much results we see. And the deck lists are so similar at this point. Of course, 2 grass might make the difference. I could be wrong, to be fair. But it's like 60 cards. 2 grass isn't making that much of a difference. It's mainly like 30 grass, right? Like Charmy and Maxi into grass. I like this list. The Iron Thunders are spicy. Very solid list. And Alba Lenatus, of course. Double Mirror Jade for the grind game. Very solid and tight list. So this is for a branded 42nd place Hagetaka championship second place. Oh, second place. Okay. So, we won't have an extended breakdown of this. I'm not sure how big the event was. We'll figure it out. But I don't think it matters too much. We just want to absorb the list. And this is another list running Mulcharmy, then 2 Maxx C. So this is post 2 Maxx C. There's no way you'd be running 2 Maxx C without it. And he's running the Omega engine with a Cyframe Gamma, sorry, with a Delta. And then he's also running a old friend in the form of Red Eyes Dark Dragoon with a Dark Magician, just straight up a raw Dark Magician. And this is a 60 card list also. He is not running grass. He doesn't have the best mills for grass. Like he is running a Tragedy. He's running double Mercurier, no Allure. I don't love that, but he's also running 3 High Spirits, so it makes sense. And then he's running Droplet Evenly, which I do think is the best board breaker package in Branded, especially against something like Ryzeal or something. Oh my god, this is just cracking every board in the game. So like this is a board breaker package we can consider. I think I've reviewed this list on stream too before. It's a good list, so I'm not gonna spend too much time on it. And the the Cyframe package is sort of spicy. It's really powerful. I don't know if I feel like I'd rather just run Ash as like the mainstay out for a Mulcharmy sent my way. Top Pigeon card first place. This was a 74 duelist. This was a winning Branded list, and it had 60 card grass. Wow, we're gonna have to do a breakdown chart of like video at the end on just like it's gonna be like a 10 to 1 just like grass deck ratio. Like it's crazy out here. Are you fine with 2 Albaz or 3 mandatory? I think 3 is mandatory unless you're running. I mean, run 2. You can certainly run 2. You just have to be really good with your grind game. So that's why I personally think that running 2 is just fine. Or sorry, no, I personally think that running 3 is, I misspoke. I think that running 2 is fine if you run things like King of the Swamp, because that doubles as an Albaz. But then when you're not, I think it's fine if you're running a lower to the ground build, like that 43 card build running 2 Albaz. Like probably don't need 3 Albaz because you're really just playing Puppet Turbo at that point. And like you Mirror Jade plays and all that, hand trapping your opponent, but you're need the 3 for the grind games that you get into with how many hand traps are in the game. So if you don't have the second, you're just completely dead. So I would just largely recommend 3, but that is certainly like a deck building concession you can do to get an extra slot if you want to take like the grind game challenge with the deck. I like this list. It's 3 Mulcharmy, 3 Ash, 3 Imperm, the hand traps, and then 3 Evenly. I do think Evenly is going to really shine next format, because what does Ryzeal do against Evenly? Nothing. They're dead. Like hand traps at that point, right? I mean, they end on Detonator, which is pretty good, but Detonator doesn't really matter against Branded. Really doesn't. You just have to play carefully. You just have to make sure that they aren't like, you're gonna go normal summon Albaz into Detonator essentially. Like, have to activate Lost probably isn't the play against that guy either, unless you have Retribution. The summon limit is really devious too, and then he's running the 1 Azalea plus the Chaos Star Source with no Light and Darkness Dragon Lord. No, Ryzeal have a field spell? Yes, they do. I've mentioned that. I mean, go Evenly though, they're gonna probably banish it. You do have to be careful of the field spell for sure though. Things like Dark Ruler isn't like against. Taking out the Detonator is usually a lot of what they're putting up besides to then deal with Trap and the field spell, which is why I like Evenly. It's usually at least 2 for 1 on their interruptions. Yeah, I like this list. The Azalea is interesting. I like Chaos Star Source for popping fields. Azalea's there to probably link off like certain things. It's also not bad in a grind game. It just requires 2 lights or 2 darks. And then here's the Branded China City Tour Beijing top 4 list. This has Lancias in it to deal with Maliss, which is something I've been considering personally in like post crossover breakers Branded list to run Artifact Lancia, at least at 1, because we can send this off of Branded Fusion and then revive it off of Sanctifier and then use its effect on my opponent's turn, so I could like command Lancia them. I don't know. I think running 3 is probably just fine with how much Maliss is in the OCG. running 3 in our format might be a little dubious because I don't think Maliss will actually be that I mean, just be playing it because they want to play it, but will it be the best deck in the room? Until the ban list, right? Even then, Ryzeal's going to be better. 3 Thus on the side in the red reboot, Lamau. And we see the Book of Eclipse because this just like one-shots the Ryzeal board. This actually one-shots the Ryzeal board because it turns off their trap, it turns off their field spell, and turns off their exceed. So Book of Eclipse is the best board breaker into Ryzeal, so that we can run as a branded player. I've mentioned this on videos before. So this is going to be something that we want to run too. And then the Molcharmi package plus Maxx C, 2 Purrelyas, 3 Fuwalos, and then 2 Maxx Cs, and then 3 Ash, and then 3 Imperm. So like hand traps. Plus then the board breaking package, and then he has 3 kit. Oh yeah, this is the 3 kit list I was alluding to before. Shout out to Yuri, man. He loved this list. And 1 Drone Lockbird, which is interesting. He is running the crossout, so maybe it's like their crossout too, but I think it's also not a bad draw off of Molcharmi or Maxx C. And yes, this is a really cool list. The 3 kit is interesting. That's a lot of normals, quote unquote, but remember what I said, this could also turn and convert into a special summon a lot of the time, especially with 3 High Spirit, and then the 2 Grasslick Screener helping you basically facilitate your fusions already. And Grass is such a bomb. Like, card always equals branded fusion at the end of the day. Like, you're always milling names to like a Shrouded or a Tragedy or a Retribution to basically get to your branded fusion. So it's always, in my opinion, it's just like branded, and it is more advantage than resolving branded fusion. Grass like my words, Grass Look Screener generates more advantage than resolving a branded fusion, and that's because Grass gets you branded fusion plus cards. That's just simple math. So yeah, most decks are 40 cards, so it's like time you're running, you're milling like 20 cards. If you're running like Shrouded, any like Retribution, like even 1 Retribution, 1 Tragedy is usually just enough to get there, man. Also, getting opening in the graveyard is always great. I wonder if opening's ever going to go 2 in the TCG. If we just get a random stray with opening, I swear it's branded, but I don't think that's going to happen. There's like anything, there should be a buff for branded on the ban list. I don't think it'll happen, but we'll see. I mean, anything we could get, like, we'll get inherent buffs, like we'll Verte back one day, and that's like, oh, great, right? Because once Verte comes back, Bestials just become our hand traps, I feel like, kind of like the master. Maybe it just depends, because the TCG loves their light and dark decks, and with the Azamina stuff, it's really good. The Bestials aren't bad. What's up, Elic? How's it going? King Magic Geek with Ryzeal coming into the format. D-Berry might be everywhere, so it'll be rough for us unless we eventually start siding crossouts again. Yeah, that's something I haven't been seeing in here, and that's mainly because crossouts at 1, but you know, something I was going to talk about in crossover, but thanks for bringing up Magic Geek, because I think I was gonna forget about it, honestly. And like, I think crossout could be very good into the next format for branded, because we could obviously like run Impulse, the Ash, and then Shifter. And I think Shifter is actually gonna, as you guys like, Shifter's gonna be probably out of the format, because it's not like, you're not wanting to Shifter Maliss, you're not wanting to Shifter Ryzeal still makes most their board under Shifter, so Shifter is going to be outside of the meta, which is good for us, but also that means that like we're going to have to consider other things. And D-Barrier is going to be in everyone's deck for Ryzeal, so I think siding crossout might end up being mandatory going first. I think it's mandatory if you're playing Ryzeal, so I don't know why it wouldn't be mandatory if we're trying to compete too. Is that like we in D-Barrier formats before, but this might be the most heavy D-Barrier format ever if Ryzeal really just does take over the format, which is still just like somewhat of an unknown until a ban list, but we're gonna see how Ryzeal performs the first like couple weeks. If we see like Ryzeal, I think we'll know that Ryzeal's about the best deck, because those numbers should keep increasing by that point. If it's about like 10%, it's gonna probably take a ban list, right? Or less, until Ryzeal really steps up. It'll be interesting if Maliss, like, I think Maliss might get away with murder though, because no one's on Nib, and Nib is like 2 hand traps, like I mentioned, that really only stop, like, it's really hard to hand trap Maliss outside of those. Like, you usually have to waste 2 hand traps on their, like, this was a cool list though, not bad. Okay, so this was YCS Japan, Osaka 60th, branded top 64. Yeah, so I did review this on stream, so you guys might remember this list as well. The Keeper, that this was, okay, so this was actually the list that gave me the idea for Keeper. I really regret that I was not able to use working with paper as I thought I would be. So basically he's a master duel player, I guess. So he wasn't used to paper play, and he said he could perform better if he wasn't like, if he was more used to paper play. So that's totally understandable. That's a very relatable thing. Someone who plays online a lot, like the paper play is definitely always a different experience that you have to be prepared for. And he still made top 64 at a YCS with 3,000 plus people. I believe it might have been 4,000. Pretty sure it was 4,000, honestly. It was 3,000 to 4,000. He's running Nadir, he's running Grass. If you haven't been convinced on Grass, I don't know what to tell you. But also, this might be an effect of having 2 Grass. I do think we'll see 2 Grass at next list. There's like, lists have been running Grass besides Branded and Infernoid, and they aren't doing anything. So, like, I think they're obviously going to put Grass to 2, like, to help those decks out. 1 Quem, 1 Cartesia. I never liked this 1 Cartesia. 1 Maximus. 2 Maxx with no other hand traps. I don't love that either, but it's kind of like the Master Duel thing. Evenly plus Droplet, best board breaker package of the game. No Book of Eclipse. I like this combo. It's either Droplet Evenly or just Book of Eclipse, in my opinion. Super Poly is going to fall off, so Super Poly is probably on the way out next format. Oh, my friend just sent me a hand of Salesman, Exchange, Tikaboo. That's an incredible hand going first, right? Hopefully the Tikaboo got him there. Or he's playing a mirror match so he could just exchange and take a Luber. Free Verte, King Cuz, I agree. I think a lot of other decks will end up using Sanctifier though for evil things. Doing Salad's test hands on the siding, just open up go Ogre, Valor, Ash, Jack, Jaguar, and Gazelle. Yo, that's like the equivalent of opening like fusion, like, and then just like Droplet evenly, and then your 5th card is whatever you want it to be, kind of hand. Like, what's up working out if you're going first or second? Yeah. Assuming that's how it feels to open up Gazelle, opening up Branded Fusion, right? I kind of know, but Snow's such an annoying card. I actually don't want Snow in the format. But, like, Snow would be great in our deck. We'd be able to abuse the shit out of Snow, and it'd be a great interruption for us. So maybe, like, I'll be able to deal with it, but, like Warren would become really obnoxious. But also, like, Warren's already obnoxious going first, so it's like, let us have it. Let Jesse Khan have his Fairy Tale Snow. If I were to play this in the TCG, why just replace the Charmies and the Maxx for generic hand traps like Valor and Ogre? I mean, keep the Charmies ideally, right? You'd run the Charmies over the Maxx. I'd also say don't run hand traps if you aren't going to be able to run Charmies, kind of thing. I don't think it's worth it personally. I mean, you can run Ash Imperm, like Nib, kind of thing. But I think like Ogre are kind of his hand traps, so like just like high impact ones, like Nib are more ideal, or like Blackbird. Bull is really good too, as like an alternative to Charmy in my opinion. Yeah, or either Gazelle or Lady Debug. Yeah, Ladybug is an insane card, to be honest. 2 Expulsion Strikes again. Also shout out to my man Yuri Diaz sending me the phone screenshots. Okay, so we already looked at this list. Okay, so this is a funny list. Not a funny list, it's actually a really cool list. I say funny because it's like slurry, but Grass Branded top 16. This was during like to March, so like a month ago. Super unique build. It has the Destiny Hero engine in it, so shout out to the Destiny Hero engine, which is really unique, you know, to this guy. He's also running Construct, he's running DPE, he's running Shadal Winda, he's running Dragoon, he's running all the stops, so he has other ways to play through things like Ash and Impulse, which is really cool to see, which is why I was actually considering running Fusion Destiny, and it's something I do need to test with, actually, because in theory, just to play around Impulse, to play around Ash, to play, you know, around these multiple hand trap combinations that really tend to stop us, why not run Fusion Destiny and just extend from there? You know, why not run the one of Shadal Fusion, or like, you know, Grass Look Screener, all these bombs. He's also running 2 Imperm, 3 Ash, 3 Mulcharmy, 2 Cartesia, 2 Quem, 1 Destiny Hero Celestial, because this is a draw 2 discard one, I believe, in the graveyard. So if you mill this, it's crazy. He's also running Dasher, so it's a great mill on that for the grind game, which is just funny, but it's also, you send it off of Fusion Destiny, right? Verte would go hard really in this build, and then he's running the one of Dark Magician, one of Nib to draw off of Mulcharmy or Maxx. And yeah, I really love this list, honestly. Very cool list. I wish we could deck build like this in the OCG. Also, Shadal Dragon, Shadragon, Shadal Beast, and Shadal Squamata. with no Shadal Schism, which is interesting. He is running the Shadal cards just as pluses, and that crazy actually. He's not even running anything. He is running the one of Shadal Fusion, so he could obviously go Grand Guignol effects, and he's not even running App Cologne, so he can't even do that. That's crazy actually. He's just running these cards as mills, essentially. Like, I don't know how he's fusing into the Shadal cards, besides Shadal Fusion. It's pretty cool though. I might run like bigger cards or something for that reason. Never thought about DP and Branded, but that's cool. Yeah, it's just another Branded Fusion for, you know, board piece. Gives you some lights and darks. Gives you some darks, mainly in the graveyard, right? Side deck is interesting. Some Bestials, Phantasme. Pankratops, we haven't seen Pank and Branded in a while. Super Poly Droplet. I still think Super Poly will be okay in certain matchups, especially the Yasmina Snake Eye matchups. You'll want this card, so I'm not mad about siding it. One Tikaboo, once again. Also, he's running Regained. So yeah, this is something that we could definitely take some inspiration from. We already went through this list. We already went through this list. Oh god. This is a Suda branded list. This one's so blurry. I'll try to decipher this for you guys. We got 3 Droll, 2 Nibiru, 2 Lava Golem. He's running 2 Lava Golem right here. And then 2 Molcharmy Fuwalos. Can't tell, or I think that's 3 Shrouded. And it might be 1 Maxi, honestly. I can't tell. It's 1 Maxi or 3 Shrouded. And then 1 Mercurier, 1 Kit, 2 Cartesia, 1 or 2 Cartesia. Blalbazes and Alubers in there with Kit, like I mentioned. I think there's some Bestials too. 3 Deployment, 3 Lightning Storm, 3 Thrust. I think that's 2 Grass. I think there's a set rotation right there. I could be wrong with some probably Field Spell in here. I could be wrong. I do see the one of High Spirits Expulsion evenly matched. Maybe, yeah, I see Droplets right there. And then Feather Duster, Talents, Heavy Storm in the main with 1 red. And yeah, interesting with the Chaos Star Source in the main. Here's another Suda list. Really standard branded, it's grass though. It's another grass branded build, like up folks. Running some hand traps, of course, like I mentioned. Once again, hand traps are gonna just start being a thing in branded, honestly. I'd play the Charmies if they didn't cost me a kidney and a half. Yeah, that's really fair. And I wouldn't even recommend getting the Charmies unless you're really like, you know, my friend. You already won with that hand, by the way, of like a complete brick, like Dalsband, double exchange, Tikaboo, by the way. What a king. You can still fuse with Albion into Construct or Cartesia. I'm trying to think what could get us into Window then, right? It's a cool list. I don't know, too blurry for me. And this is another list with Threatening Roar. It's Azamina branded, so that's cool. Let's see, I'll zoom this out. First Azamina branded list of the night. This is OCG Azamina branded, I believe. This might be TCG actually, but for that reason, here we go. Is Azamina with the Lad, and then the Light and Darkness Dragon Lord and Chaos Star Source Dragon with the Vera. No pop, so he's just running the Azamina cards to facilitate advantage, plus a body, plus a draw, and then obviously the Ninigate, so it's not terrible. And then 52 card main deck, so no grass, and 2 Witch, 3 Wanted, 1 Deception, which kind of shows like you only need 1 Deception in a build like this probably. DDG, Threatening Roar, D-Barrier, evenly, Cosmics on the side with Droll. Droll is basically Molcharmy, so Banishment in the main is interesting too. Banishment's a card I've actually been debating on coming back to because it's really good with Lad once again and just great for the grind game. And he is running Masquerade for Time, and he has the Gimmick Puppet, of course, and 3 Wanteds. Such a broken card, and then 3 Eclipse. So yeah. Then we have the last list here, which this isn't even a list, so yeah. Okay. Yeah, guys, that was OCG branded. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you're on YouTube watching the VOD, please leave a like, subscribe too. Comment down below what was your favorite list, and we'll be seeing you guys next time.